I'm Dennis Anderson along with Julie Zenner, and here's what's coming up on Almanac North.
Despite an abnormally wet spring, the summer tourism outlook is bright on the Iron Range. Range tourism officials are here with an update.
A new craft distillery in Duluth's Canal Park hopes to build on the success of local breweries as it debuts a line of handmade spirits.
And headlining the business news, ground is broken on 2 Duluth projects that will have a major impact on the downtown area.
These stories and more coming up next on Almanac North. Hello and welcome to Almanac North. Thank you very much for watching. Well, the rain is causing a lot of problems in far northern Minnesota and to our south as well, Julie.
That's true, and all of us here in Duluth know exactly what these folks are going through, so we hope that it ends quickly.
It has been a wet spring. All right, let's hope for drier weather and a quick end of the flooding, but we've got a much more upbeat story to start the program.
All right, thank you, Denny, and welcome everyone. Tourism is growing across the region, becoming a more important part of the local economy. Thousands are gathering in Duluth this weekend for Grandma's Marathon, and thousands more will attend the Land of the Loon Festival this weekend in Virginia. As tourism continues to grow on the Iron Range, it pumps tens of millions of dollars into the local economy. And joining us is Beth Pierce, the director of the Iron Range Tourism Bureau. Jim Makowsky is a member of the Tourism Board and manager of 2 Iron Range motels. And Tammy Mattonen is with the Minnesota Discovery Center, formerly known as Iron World in Chisholm. Thanks to all of you for being here. Appreciate you coming down on a Friday evening when things are so busy in your industry. Beth, tell us a little bit about the Tourism Bureau, what it is, how you're funded, how it works.
Sure. Well, the Iron Range Tourism Bureau is located in Eveleth, and we serve 11 communities on the Iron Range from Hibbing to Hoyt Lakes, up to Embarrass and down to Meadowlands is actually part of our service area. We're funded by a local option lodging tax. That's a 3% tax on hotel rooms, and we have some campgrounds that participate as well.
Tough getting Iron Range communities to work together, or is everybody pulling together for a cause?
I think our organization is a shining example of Iron Range communities working together because they've been doing it since 1988, and our board is represented by all those communities, so and they do great work.
Jim, you manage 2 Iron Range motels, so obviously you talk to a lot of people, a lot of tourists that come through. What do they tell you? Why are they on the Iron Range?
I think people like the people of the Iron Range. We're welcoming communities. We take pride in what we do. We're hardworking people, and we enjoy making people happy. You hear the saying about Minnesota nice. Well, you could actually say Iron Range nice. We're kind of an extension of that. So I think the people really enjoy that.
And Tammy, you're with the Minnesota Discovery Center, which used to be known as Iron World, and over the years it's kind of struggled a little bit to figure out what it is and where its place is. Has the center really found its niche now?
I really believe so. Yeah, I think one common misconception is people think that we're still part of the state, and we are now a private nonprofit. And since our closure 3 years ago, I think we have really we've really worked hard at looking at what our mission is, why we're there, and really it boils down to its education, its museum, and we're really just starting to see the benefits from that. It's been a long haul and a lot of work, a lot of research, and I've been there 3 years now, and I have never been so excited about the programming. The people that we have in our education department are just crazy creative. They are teaching about history and natural sciences, about STEM activities, and the kids don't even know they're learning. It's so much fun, and the exhibits are coming together. we have a 5-phase improvements to the exhibits, and we're on phase 2 now. So now it's starting to look more substantial, like we're actually making some headway.
It's sort of become known as the Iron Range Museum. So
yes.
you're kind of trying to preserve history too, are you not?
We are. That is the reason we're there, actually. That's the reason that the taconite production taxes were allocated to fund us, is because we're a repository of our history here, and we're very, very lucky to have it on the Iron Range. If we didn't have it, it would be in St. Paul. And people don't realize the collection, the gold mine that we have in our basement. We have 20,000 objects. We have 300,000 photos. We have 100,000 maps. We really are a wealth of history there, and it's really a really strong cultural tie there.
Beth, what are the most popular attractions that draw people to the Iron Range?
Well, of course, Minnesota Discovery Center, the trolley, everyone loves that. Anything to do with mines, you know, our office is located on 53, and we have a visitor center there. It's with the Mesabi Station, the folks who run and manage the Mesabi Trail. So we get visitors that come in and they say, you know, where can we see a mine? And I just say, just drive a couple more miles and you'll see them. But that's what they really, so they love the mine views. Yeah. They love any kind of mine tours, and of course Hibbing Taconite is doing that this summer.
Beth, we have Grandma's Marathon in Duluth this weekend, but you also have a big event this weekend in Virginia.
We do. Land of the Loon Festival is a great event that brings a lot of people to the area, fills our hotels, and of course a lot of locals are out and enjoying that event as well.
Jim, from what you hear, is the Iron Range a destination, or are people just kind of stumbling on it as they're heading to the Boundary Waters or to Voyageurs? Or
it's kind of unique because it's a combination of all of that, and it's seasonal. It depends on what season it is too. You can look at summer right now, and we're going to get a lot of the leisure traffic. In the spring of the year, we get a lot of the people coming from the OHV parks in Gilbert to go four-wheeling and that type of stuff.
Golfing is quite big on the range.
Golfing is big too. We have some incredible golf courses. You know, so there's a variety. We do see some business traffic during the weeks too. So you know, there's a lot of things happening. We have Walmart gearing up to open here very soon, and the mine's certainly bringing on a lot of business.
Has tourism really picked up over the past few years? I know you had a record year just a couple years ago, and it seems to be moving in a positive direction.
2012 was a record year, and we're on pace in the first quarter to surpass that. So that's great news.
So tourists are opening their wallets while they're on the Iron Range?
We hope so.
Yeah, they're not just passing.
They're paying for hotel rooms anyway, so
yeah, they are. And
everything that goes along with that. So
have there been any new restaurants built recently, or perhaps other hotels or motels in the region?
Well, of course, Hibbing is building a new hotel, and the Hibbing Park Hotel in Hibbing is being remodeled. The Holiday Inn is probably the newest hotel after that, but I think we're seeing everybody remodeling and redecorating and just doing great things within their properties too. So.
Tammy, how do you reach out to folks from outside the region and get them interested in the Minnesota Discovery Center?
Well, we have actually found most of our visitors come from a 60-mile radius. However, we actually have an international audience with our collections and our archives and our genealogy, which genealogy is a growing hobby. We actually have had people come internationally, and they mark us as a destination to visit because of the collections that we have there to come visit. So otherwise, you know, we will occasionally put an ad in the Star Tribune, but our marketing budget just is not that substantial. So it has to be word of mouth. Facebook page has been very popular now. People share things that are going on, and it brings people up. And we are actually the largest trolley system in Minnesota. So if people are interested in trains, they may come out of that area to come and visit us specifically for that.
Tammy, there may be viewers who don't live here, but they're watching this program tonight in hotel and motel rooms around the region. What do you want those people to know about the Iron Range? And maybe all of you can jump in on that question.
I would like to just point out the Maybe someone else could take that.
I have an answer for that.
Go right ahead, please.
I think people who have maybe heard about the Iron Range in the news and the Star Tribune or wherever would be amazed to find out how beautifully industry and wildlife really coexist on the Iron Range. We have so many outdoor recreational opportunities, but we do have this incredible industry that's amazing to watch, and you can see things really up close happening and affecting our national economy, really. So it's a really cool area.
Mm-hmm. Jim, did the cold winter have any impact, positive or negative, with the amount of snow that we had, and then we've kind of rolled into this late spring?
Definitely an interesting year for us, and with the well, I think Giants Ridge was closed for the 7 days, because of cold weather.
Yes.
A ski hill closed because of cold weather. That was incredible. But it was surprising how quickly the spring rebounded back to whatever effects that cold weather had on us. The spring came on strong, and people were anxious to get out and start doing things again. So,
does it sound like people are traveling around the state, at least both winter and summer now? Are you noticing that?
Oh, definitely. Our busy seasons primarily is summer. Second busy season is winter. And during the fall and spring, that's when we kind of do some maintenance and get things geared up for the upcoming season. So, it's a combination of both. The snowmobilers, they're still around. They still come up. We have some great trails up there. But I think the OHV park and the four-wheelers is kind of taking over in that area.
But there was a time maybe years ago when everything kind of shut down after June, July, and August, and reopened again in the spring. But that isn't necessarily the case anymore.
No, not anymore. The mines are running, all year long, so there's always something happening up there. But, ice fishing, snowmobiling, the different sports, hunting.
The lakes are still a draw, in other words.
Yes, and even, 2 years ago, we had the Deer Hunters opener at Giants Ridge with Governor Dayton, and he's coming up next year for the fishing opener. So things are happening up there.
And we're starting to see a lot of people on the Mesabi Trail in the fall. They love to do that, and there's some really beautiful passages along that trail that are colorful and yes.
Yeah, that's great. Any big events that you want to promote? We've got just about a minute left.
Well, of course, the Mesabi Trail Tour is coming up in August. It's their 10th anniversary. They usually draw between 700 and 800 people, and it's just a great family event.
What challenges are facing the Iron Range right now? Any idea?
In terms of tourism, things that you have to overcome?
I think the weather it's such an impact, and it's hard to predict, not only as far as the weather itself, but as far as how we need to staff and be prepared for the customers to come, because it's hard to keep a motel open 365 days a year when you're busy just every weekend of the summer. So it's hard to kind of keep the different events going and throughout the year.
Well, best of luck to all of you as you head into this busy season. Appreciate you coming down and sharing some information, and it's a great place to visit.
Have fun at Land of the Loon tomorrow.
All right. Thanks for having us.
Now, let's dig into our news file archive for a look at what was making news 25 years ago this week.
We gotta get somebody up here on the crest of the heart.
It looks like a scene out of Hollywood, the director high above the players, barking them into position. But unlike Hollywood productions, this isn't meant to turn a dollar profit, but hopefully a human one. Think of your fellow man. The people dressed in red are forming a 75 by 75 foot heart-shaped human logo. It will tag public service announcements aimed at recruiting volunteers. It's part of a media campaign called the Volunteer Connection, sponsored locally by the United Way, the Aid Association for Lutherans, and the local media.
It's part of a national campaign. It's been localized here for Duluth in putting together the human logo. No other city has done that. The national folks think this is the greatest production, and it may go into the Guinness Book of World Records as the largest human logo. We're not sure.
Nearly everything about the production has been donated, from the helicopters carrying camera crews to the red shirts to those wearing them, numbering over 500. Organizers say whatever the reason, they're encouraged so many turned out to help. The PSA sporting the logo should be hitting local airwaves within a few weeks. At Bayfront Park, Julie Zenner, KDLH News.
Duluth's first legal distillery since Prohibition has opened its doors in Canal Park. Vikre Distillery is offering its boreal gins at area liquor stores and bars, and also has a traditional Scandinavian aquavit liquor for sale. The distillery is also making whiskeys, which will need several years of aging before they're available for sale. The Vikre gins won a gold and 2 silver medals from the American Craft Distillers Association earlier this year. We took a camera crew to the distillery for a tour with Vikre's founders.
Hi, I'm Emily Vikre, co-founder of Vikre Distillery. We're located down here in Canal Park in the Palucci building, which is right near the lift bridge. And this is our distillery. We're gonna have a little look around. We had this moment where we were like, well, wait a second. Minnesota has amazing grain, best water in the world. There are peat bogs north of Duluth. Like, why isn't anyone making Minnesota whiskey? And we did a little bit of market research to see, you know, like, was this a viable business opportunity? And turns out craft distilling is kind of where craft beer is about 10 to 15 years ago. So it's kind of just starting to take off. And we thought, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's learn how to distill. So any beverage that has alcohol in it has to start with fermentation. And fermentation is the process where yeast is eating sugars and digesting them, and alcohol is created as a byproduct. And that happens in big fermentation tanks. And we actually have that process happen over at Bent Paddle Brewery, who are our partners in this process. And they really steward that and make what's called the distiller's beer to our specifications. And then we put all of that into big square tanks that are stored over here right now. And we truck it in a truck the 2 miles over here, and then we pump it into this still, which is our big 1,000-gallon stripping still. And Joel's gonna come and explain the distillation process because he is really the one who operates the machinery and is the plumber in this area.
Yeah, so fermentation, which is like biology basically, yeast eating sugar and creating alcohol. Distillation is more like chemistry, and what we're actually doing is separating the compounds that are in this distiller's beer by their boiling point. So there's a simple way of doing that, and there's a complex way of doing that. And the first step is the simple way. So this still is basically just a giant pot with a steam coil at the bottom. And as we heat up that distiller's beer, the alcohol, which has a lower boiling point than the water, starts to vaporize first. And those vapors travel up the still head, across the stainless line arm, and then into the condenser on the left. And we use ice cold Duluth water to condense that back into a liquid. So that's our first step. It goes from about 8 or 9% to about 30% alcohol in that step. So all of our equipment comes from Kentucky. Not surprisingly, that's where the still manufacturers in America are located. So it's all built by a 100-year-old company called Vendome. This still we had them make new, but the copper still we actually purchased used from a distillery out in Washington State. So we went out there, we spent a couple weeks distilling on the equipment, took it apart, put it in a truck, drove it over here.
Joel drove it back from Washington to Minnesota in a U-Haul in January.
So when we're making our clear spirits, we send the vapor up here, and along the path of the vapor we put barriers, and so the spirit will condense, fall back down, re-evaporate, move up, condense, fall back down. That process is called reflux. And for making our clear spirits, we need a very long reflux process. And so we send the spirit up through here and then back into the other room there and up through our vodka column. After we've distilled our raw product 4 times, we have a spirit that is at very high proof, and we have to add water to it. And that water matters a great deal. So essentially what we're adding to our spirit is clean, pure Lake Superior water. And the rest of our ingredients also come from, as much as possible, the Lake Superior watershed. So our grains are from Minnesota and Wisconsin. A lot of our botanicals are from up here. As we're moving into bourbon, our barrels are made in Minnesota from Minnesota white oak. So we're trying to essentially distill the flavors of the watershed into the bottle.
I became really interested in exploring some more of the flavors and the things that naturally grow around here and how they could fit into a gin profile. And of course, gin has to have juniper in it, and juniper is this interesting coniferous tree that has berries, and so I got interested in like using different trees, and so that's where the idea of this line of tree-inspired gins came from, and so we called them boreal gins after the beautiful boreal forest. And so each of them is named after a tree that gives it kind of its distinctive flavors.
This is the magic of Emily's palate. She's an amazing taster, amazing recipe developer, and so she has all of these creative ideas and enough knowledge to be able to translate them into real-life recipes. Our gins contain some foraged ingredients, and one of them, our spruce gin, has foraged spruce tips. And in Duluth, since spring doesn't apparently arrive until June, they've just come out. So we have been out picking ourselves. We put a thing on Facebook asking people to pick some for us, and we've had some nice people bringing in spruce tips. So anyway, Chelsea here is putting the batches we've had come in into freezer bags, and we'll put those in the freezer and then pull them out over the course of the year to go into our batches of spruce gins.
So we're starting with these gins and the akavit, and then we're also going to craft 3 whiskeys that are kind of going to be our flagship lineup of spirits. So we're actually going to make a bourbon, a rye, and then a single malt with peat in it, which is what inspired the whole thing. And so those will be coming in years down the road.
These, their first life was as a bourbon barrel in Kentucky. These actually come from the Jim Beam factory. So after they empty them, most of them go to Scotland to age Scotch. We siphoned a little bit off for here, and we're going to be aging our peaty single malt in these barrels. But we also have begun collecting other kinds of barrels. We have some cognac barrels from France that we'll be aging akavit in. We have some port barrels that we'll be finishing bourbon in. And then we have from Park Rapids, Minnesota, made from Minnesota white oak, we have some new barrels, and that's what we'll be aging our bourbon and our rye in.
It's a lot of work, but it's all, you know, really worth it when people come in and we can see the reactions to trying it, or when we're out at a liquor store and they say, you know, we've sold this many bottles of your gin, and you know, and just seeing how excited people are in town to have something like this in Duluth.
Just a couple of weeks ago now, we opened up the front of our place here for people to come down and do tastings and tours. And if you're a Duluthian and you're afraid of Canal Park in the summer, which we totally understand, maybe come visit us in the fall.
Time now for the week's business news from Business North. Partners in the downtown Duluth Maurices headquarters project broke ground Tuesday for the $70 million commercial development. Maurices President George Goldfarb lauded the public-private partnership that contributed money toward the project. Maurices is investing $50 million, while the state and city have allocated $20 million for the parking ramp. About 425 people work in Maurices' existing offices, and that number will rise to about 600 when the larger new building is completed. At the groundbreaking attended by Governor Mark Dayton, Goldfarb predicted everyone will be pleased with the result.
Thank you all Our new building will span this entire city block. It will stand 11 stories tall, almost as tall as the Radisson right next door, and is the largest commercial development in Duluth's history.
The city and the state can be joined into this partnership and make it happen. You know, somebody said to me, well, you know, it's a parking ramp. It's not, you're not part of the commercial development project. And I said, you know, my father's only once, if a shopper comes downtown to shop and they can't find a place to park, that's usually the last time they go downtown.
Demolition has been going on at the site for about a month. 250 construction workers will build the 11-story structure with an opening date set for the spring of 2016.
John Will has been named president of the Wisconsin Indian Head Technical College System. He's replacing Bob Meyer, who in May accepted the position of chancellor at the University of Wisconsin-Stout. John Will previously was chief operating officer at WITC and was business manager for the Spooner Area School District. He will begin in his new position on September the 2nd.
Duluth Transit Authority administrators and public officials celebrated the start of work on the DTA's new Multimodal Transportation Center project on Thursday. The work will begin with demolition of an existing parking ramp between 2nd and 3rd Avenues West on Michigan Street. A new ramp will be built in its place, serving as a transit hub. In Phase 2 of the project, the 38-year-old Northwest Passage portion of the skywalk will be rebuilt. The new facility will serve as a terminal for DTA buses, along with cabs and private intercity buses. For more on these and other business stories, visit businessnorth.com.
If you have a comment, now's the time to call. Dial 218-788-2849 to leave a message, or send an email to almanacnorth@wdsc.org. You can also visit the WDSC website for updates on your favorite PBS shows, program schedules, and news and events at the station. Well, we packed a lot into this week's program, Julie.
Yeah, and it's a lot of good news, too. Things being built and tourism on the range.
A lot happening around here.
Lots of good stuff
All right,
happening.
thank you very kindly. Good luck to all the runners this weekend, too. For Julie and the crew here at WDSC, I'm Dennis Anderson. Have a great weekend. Good night, everybody, and be kind.